Welcome to Weirdaholics with Tiffany
and Nicole. Welcome back, everyone.
It's been a little while.
It's been like a year. Just kidding. It feels like it. We went on a little hiatus, but we're back. So let's just hop right into it. What's your weird thing?
We were on a hiatus right after a hiatus.
Oh yeah, like a quadruple hiatus almost.
we've been really bad with this recording thing.
Oh no, we'll get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you worry.
So, weird thing?
Yeah, you go first.
I've had some weird dreams that I want to tell you about. So, one dream was a Scientology dream, and I was pretending to be a Scientologist so that I could infiltrate their church and steal all of their Bibles.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I stole...
Sounds like some weird Nicolas Cage movie.
So I stole all of the Bibles from the Scientology church, and I was like, take that.
Suckers.
And then I had another weird dream. I was in Vegas, and, just drinking, partying, and then some guys were talking about how there's been a shooting in Vegas a lot. Like, almost every day there's a shooting.
Oh, God.
And they were wondering if it was going to happen. And then I was like, uh-oh. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of popcorn kernels come shooting out of a building next to us. It was like tons and tons of popcorn kernels that, like, covered a foot off of the ground.
Oh, my God.
And it was like, weird. But it got scary when the popcorn kernels turned into big popcorn.
Holy shit.
And everyone was screaming and running because the popcorn was, like, huge. And with, like, a foot of popcorn kernels on the ground turning to big popcorn, it was going to be, like, an 8-foot tall
wall of popcorn
everywhere. So everyone was screaming and running and trying to get out of there. And then doors were locked, and we're like, no, we're going to drown in all this popcorn.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you could suffocate. That's dangerous shit.
So that was the shooting, apparently.
So did you happen to have this dream after we watched Troll 2?
Before.
Okay. Well, I think you got that from Troll 2. If you haven't seen Troll 2, you gotta watch Troll 2. Best movie ever.
It's funny because, that dream could have been pretty horrific if it was an actual shooting that I dreamed about. But luckily, my subconscious was kind to me and made it into popcorn.
It's like, let's make this G-rated. Holy shit.
But people were still freaking out, because they're gonna drown in all that popcorn.
Just imagine, like, breathing in salt and butter and, like, popcorn dust. That'd
be really awful.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of COVID, so if I sound a little nasally, it's because of that.
And if I sound a little nasally, it's because that's how I talk.
Sexy.
So sexy.
And I got to see Danny Elfman, my love of my life. So I'm very, very happy and living on that high still. Mm-hmm. He was in California.
And she drove all the way there and all the way back just to see him.
Yep. It was so worth it, though.
Good. I'm glad. He is coming here, but it's like the orchestra thing that you were telling me about. So, I don't know. We should probably just go. I don't know.
I already bought tickets.
Oh, good. Okay. You're one step ahead. I don't know. My weird thing is the past... I don't even know how long it's been since we recorded, but everything's just been weird. Every day it's a whole new weird thing. Venus is in retrograde, folks. It's now at the halfway point, so it's turning around. But shit's going weird with everyone's relationships. Yep. So stay inside. Don't go outside. Hold your loved ones close. I never really believed in this stuff until now, and oh boy, it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
There's people on the edge of divorce, there's people on the edge of breakups, there's people that have been broken up with, there's new relationships starting, there's old friendships that are deteriorating, but then they're getting repaired, and then there's other ones that are like, brand new friends, and then there's ones that are like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's just a whole weird fucking thing.
Yeah.
So
relationships have been on the fritz the last couple of months, or the last month or two.
Yeah.
Even ours.
Yes. Squinty eyes. So I don't know. I'll come up with a better one next week, I'm sure. This whole fucking 2 months have just been crazy.
Yeah.
So Welcome to Weirdaholics.
Let's start with a disclaimer.
Yes.
This is a comedy podcast. We will be making jokes, and sometimes we'll go off on tangents while we talk about weird shit. If that's not what you're looking for, that's okay. There are a lot of other podcasts out there for you to choose from. If you're into a more fun and casual podcast where there's jokes and banter between two friends, then listen on, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Today I'm going to talk about centaurs. This is episode 69.
Yeah! Nice.
So I was going to do something sexy, but you can't get any sexier than centaurs.
I know.
So I was like,
can you just imagine, like, laying in silk sheets and then you see a centaur come through your doorway and you're like, yeah, baby.
I mean, horses have really big dongs, so.
Oh, God. Oh. All right, now we're getting into bestiality territory.
No, it's a centaur. It's humanoid still.
Oh. Okay, so what percentage does an animal have to be human in order for it to be okay?
No, it's more the human is a certain percentage of animal.
Okay. So human, at least 60%.
50 is like 51.
51%. 50. You heard it here first, folks. 51% human equals it's okay.
Yes.
To bang.
And I'm a Sagittarius, so centaurs are my jam. And what?
Do you think Capricorn's the sea goat is kind of a centaur?
No.
It's not a human, but it's like a mermaid/goat.
It's definitely not a centaur. It's not even close.
A centaur of the sea.
Not even close.
God damn it.
Let me start with, we're going to talk about the original centaurs of Greek mythology for a bit. But then I'm going to end on some weird centaur folklore from other cultures.
I'm so happy.
Okay. So a centaur is a creature from Greek mythology with the upper body of a...
mermaid.
Wow.
Human.
Well, that still counts because the upper body of a mermaid is human.
It kind of does.
So it works.
Human.
The upper body of a human, lower body and legs of a horse. In Greek mythology, they're usually wild, violent, and unpredictable.
Kind of like my ex-boyfriend.
Kind of like us Sagittarians, really.
Oh, yeah, that's better.
They don't care for laws or societal rules. They're indulgent with wine and worldly pleasures. Again, just like Sagittarians.
Oh my god, really? It's just like a Sag.
Centaurs would fight their enemies using tree branches as weapons. Just like a Sagittarian. They weren't very civilized, so they'd live in their own colonies on the mountains of Thessaly and a forest in Elis, probably said that wrong, and the peninsula in southern Laconia.
What the hell's Laconia?
Some Greek thing. I don't know.
Ugh, does it even exist anymore?
I don't know. Weird fact. Female centaurs are called centaurides, or centauruses, which I love. The centaur creation myth goes that Ixion, the king of the tribe of the Lapiths, killed his father-in-law to avoid paying bridal gifts he had promised him. This act was so terrible that Ixion went from a king to an outlaw. But Zeus took pity on Ixion and invited him to Mount Olympus. But eventually, Zeus suspected that Ixion lusted after his wife, Hera.
Oh, everyone. Who didn't? Yeah.
Yeah,
seriously.
Everyone lusted after Hera.
Yeah.
According to Zeus.
Hot.
She had to be like the hottest one there for her to get with Zeus.
Oh, yeah.
He was like top dog.
Top diggity dog.
So to test Ixion's loyalty, Zeus created Nephili, a cloud nymph that took the shape of Hera. Zeus then lured Ixion into mating with this Nephili, disguised as Hera. Ixion fell right into the trap. And from their fun adult time, Nephili gave birth to Centaurus, which began the centaur race. Since Ixion failed the test, Zeus doomed Ixion to be chained to a wheel of fire for all eternity.
A wheel of fire?
A wheel of fire.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Mm-hmm. There's another version of the story that says that Centaurus mated frequently with the mares that inhabited Mount Pelion.
Ooh.
And that's when the centaur race began.
Oh, big ooh. Don't fuck with animals like that. Literally.
Ew. There's another creation myth that Zeus had centaur children. Zeus wanted to get with Aphrodite, but she was not interested.
Good.
Zeus tried to have his way with her, but she got away, so he ended up fertilizing Gaia, which is the earth. And from that union came a strange-looking horned generation. So even though centaurs are indulgent and wild, they're not necessarily evil. Centaurs are, from the viewpoint of ancient Greeks, uncivilized. They're so indulgent in wine and earthly pleasures that they would often lose control. Centaurs accompanied Dionysus, the god of wine and madness, and if not scattered throughout Dionysus' procession, then centaurs did at least pull his chariot.
I'd pull his chariot.
Me too, he's god of wine. They can represent the constant struggle of mankind, ever fluctuating between conscious civilization and primitive impulses.
Cavemen?
Well, in between. A struggle of civilized society and wanting to be out in nature and be wild.
Yeah.
But not all centaurs were like this. The only centaur not descending from Ixion's sin was Chiron, who was the son of Kronos. Chiron was a teacher, scholar, mentor, doctor, prophet, and more. He was one of the wisest figures in Greek mythology.
God, how can he do all that? I guess he has all the time in the world because he's like some god, but still.
Yeah, pretty sure he was supposed to be immortal.
Well, fuck. How do I become a doctor and a lawyer and a
Become
priest
immortal,
and
so you have all the time.
prophet and God.
He trained a number of Greek heroes from his home on Mount Pelion, including Hercules, Jason, Asclepius.
Wait, so there's all these Greek names, and then there's this guy named Jason?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
apparently. I've never heard of Jason before.
I can get down with that.
Chiron was caught in the middle of a battle during Hercules' labors, and he was accidentally hit by one of Hercules' poisonous arrows. Chiron was immortal, so he was suffering with the pain. He decided to give his life in exchange for Prometheus' freedom. Because of this, Zeus placed Chiron among the stars as the constellation that we know as Sagittarius.
Wow, it's you.
Yeah, so Chiron's like the civilized, wise centaur that was like different from the rest of the centaurs. So there's this really famous battle involving centaurs in Greek mythology. The battle between centaurs and the Lapiths. Pirithous, the king of the Lapiths, was getting married to Hippodamia. He decided to invite the centaurs to his wedding because they're related. They're both descendants of Ixion. And everything was going great. The centaurs appeared to be behaving, but then wine started to get served. And at that point, one of the centaurs, named Eurytion, got too drunk and attempted to run away with the bride.
Oh, scandalous.
Then the other centaurs joined in and started to force themselves up on the female guests. And
I thought you were going to say on the bride. I'm like, this poor girl has like 12 centaurs trying to get all up on her. Look at what she's wearing.
She shouldn't have been wearing such a scandalous bride's dress.
White dress.
So the other centaurs joined in, started to force themselves on the female guests and carry them off. And the Lapiths were not going to have any of this behavior at the wedding. They started to draw their weapons to fight the centaurs and rescue the women. A violent and bloody battle ensued. Ovid writes of a centaur who vomited great gouts of blood with brains and wine from wound and throat.
Oh my god.
'Cause it was so bloody.
That sounds like a regular Tuesday night.
Yeah, it does. After Taco Bell.
I was going to say after one White Claw.
Yeah.
Taco Bell works.
Eventually, the Lapiths defeated the centaurs with the help of the Athenian hero Theseus. And did you know that Hercules was killed by a centaur?
I did not.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, it reminds me of Steve Irwin, how he was killed by a stingray. Out of all creatures, Hercules, like one of the strongest.
Yeah,
like,
out of all
demigods,
creatures, a
whatever.
freaking centaur.
Yeah, like how?
Not
Yeah.
even like a Cyclops or
Zeus's
Hades.
lightning.
Yeah, it's a centaur. So here's the story. Hercules marries Deianira, and the two are traveling together when they come across a raging river. Hercules worries about his new bride's ability to swim across the river.
Of course, because women can't swim. Oh, let me help you. Like, dude, I'm doing just fine.
When a centaur named Nessus appears. Nessus offers to carry Deianira across the river on his back since he has the body of a horse. Hercules agrees. He swims across the river, and as he's waiting for them on the other side, he realizes that Nessus tricked him and was really trying to kidnap and get frisky with his new bride.
Oh, the women had it rough back in those days.
But before Nessus could take advantage of Deianira, Hercules shot and killed the centaur with a poisoned arrow. As Nessus lay dying, he told Deianira to keep his blood in case she ever came to worry about her husband's loyalty. Supposedly, Nessus's blood was magic and could ensure that he would be loyal to her, and she believed this. So when the time came that Deianira began to question Hercules' love, she stained his tunic with Nessus's blood. But the centaur's blood wasn't magical, like what she was told. It was actually poisonous because of the poisoned arrow Hercules had shot him with.
Holy shit, this centaur was, like, smart.
He definitely
What the fuck?
He definitely knows the long game.
Yeah.
By the time Deianira realized her mistake, it was too late. Hercules was already dying. So even though Nessus was killed by Hercules, he still managed to get revenge years later. After Hercules died, Athena carried him to Olympus on her chariot. According to legend, he will spend the rest of eternity with the gods.
Sad.
Sad? How terrible for him.
What if it's like a boring god?
I don't know. All these Greek mythology stories definitely don't make him sound boring.
Yeah, I guess.
There's
What if there's
so
like a
much
god
drama.
of like sneakers or something?
I mean, there is. What about that one god that has like wings on his sneakers?
Oh, not Apollo.
Is it? I think it
Maybe
is.
it's Apollo. He's cool because
Yeah.
he's like the mailman.
Yeah. We sound like we know what we're talking about.
Of course.
So, symbolism of centaurs in Greek mythology. There's a theory that the idea of a centaur came when someone saw a horse and a rider from afar, and they didn't really know what they were looking at. Centaurs were often said to be from the area of Thessaly, and it just so happens that the Thessalians were so good with horses that they spent much of their life in the saddle. It's possible that neighbors may have mistaken them for a singular creature.
Wow, dumbasses.
And throughout mythology, centaurs represented a duality, both human and animal, with the desires of both. They depict a concept called psychomachia, or a conflict of the soul. Famous artists would use centaurs in their art as a way to symbolize the soul's struggle between reasoning and faith versus indulgent desires. Alright, so that's it for Greek mythology centaurs. Let's get into some really weird centaur folklore.
I'm into it. I assume that they're not just like horse, right? Like there's other creatures.
Yeah, I try to do as centaur type creature as I could, but it's definitely some differences that we'll get into. This next centaur is Scottish, called the Nuckelavee.
God, it's Scottish! Oh god!
The Nuckelavee comes from Scottish folklore, specifically Orcadian folklore, and is sometimes called the Devil of the Sea. It lives in the sea, but it is known to wander freely on land. No one is quite sure what this mythical sea creature looks like when it's in the water, but when it's on land, it's a half-human, half-horse-like demon. It likes to plague islanders living near his home in the area. Until fairly recent times, the Nuckelavee was extremely feared, and like many other creatures of Orcadian folklore, it was generally thought unsafe to mention its name for fear of attracting its attention. So, how I'm going to describe what this creature looks like to you, I am going to leave it to this story that's a famous folklore story of someone who actually saw the creature in person.
Ooh.
And it's like the one and only encounter. And this story is actually recorded by the 19th century Orkney folklorist Walter Trail Dennison. So it's actually like historically recorded.
Yeah, it's a pretty old story then. Okay.
And it's an allegedly true account of the encounter. And in this story, it describes it pretty well. So I'm going to leave it up to the story to describe what it looks like. So here we go. Tamas, like his namesake, Tam O'Shanter, was out late one night. It was, though moonless, a fine starlit night. Thomas's road lay close by the seashore, and as he entered a part of the road that was hemmed in on one side by the sea, and on the other by a deep freshwater loch, he saw some huge object in front of, and moving towards him. What was he to do? He was sure it was no earthly thing that was steadily coming towards him. He could not go to either side, and to turn his back to an evil thing, he had heard, was the most dangerous position of all. So Tammy said to himself, "The Lord be aboot me, and take care o' me, as I am oot on no evil intent this night." Tammy was always regarded as rough and foolhardy.
That accent was amazing, by the way. So amazing.
I had to read it exactly how they wrote it. Anyway, he determined, as the best of two evils, to face the foe, and so walked resolutely yet slowly forward. He soon discovered to his horror that the gruesome creature approaching him was no other than the dreaded Nuckelavee, the most cruel and malignant of all uncanny beings that trouble mankind. The lower part of this terrible monster, as seen by Tammy, was like a great horse, with flappers like fins about his legs, with a mouth as wide as a whale's, from which came breath like steam from a brewing kettle. He had but one eye, and that as red as fire. On him sat, or rather seemed to grow from his back, a huge man with no legs, and arms that reached nearly to the ground. His head was as big as a clew of Simmons, and this huge head kept rolling from one shoulder to the other, as if it meant to tumble off. But what to Tammy appeared most horrible of all was that the creature was skinless.
Oh.
This utter want of skin adding much to the terrific appearance of the creature's naked body. The whole surface of it showing only red, raw flesh, in which Tammy saw blood, black as tar, running through yellow veins, and great white sinews, thick as horse tethers, twisting, stretching, and contracting as the monster moved. Tammy went slowly on in mortal terror, his hair on end, a cold sensation like a film of ice between his scalp and his skull, and a cold sweat bursting from every pore. But he knew it was useless to flee, and he said, if he had to die, he would rather see who killed him than die with his back to the foe. In all his terror, Tammy remembered that he had heard of Nuckelavee's dislike of fresh water, and therefore took that side of the road nearest to the loch. The awful moment came when the lower head of the monster got abreast of Tammy. The mouth of the monster yawned like a bottomless pit. Tammy found its hot breath like fire on his face. The long arms were stretched out to seize the unhappy man. To avoid, if possible, the monster's clutch, Tammy swerved as near as he could to the loch. In doing so, one of his feet went into the loch, splashing up some water on the foreleg of the monster, whereat the horse gave a snort like thunder and shied over to the other side of the road, and Tammy felt the wind of Nuckelavee's clutches as he narrowly escaped the monster's grip. Tammy saw his opportunity and ran with all his might, and sore need had he to run, for Nuckelavee had turned and was galloping after him, and bellowing with a sound like a roaring of the sea.
Bellow, bellow.
In front of Tammy lay a rivulet, through which the surplus water of the loch found its way to the sea. And Tammy knew if he could only cross the running water, he was safe, so he strained every nerve. As he reached the near bank, another clutch was made at him by the long arms. Tammy made a desperate spring and reached the other side, leaving his bonnet in the monster's clutches.
No, not his bonnet.
Nuckelavee gave a wild, unearthly yell of disappointed rage as Tammy fell senseless on the safe side of the water. What do you think a wild, unearthly yell of disappointed rage sounds like?
Kind of like George of the Jungle, almost.
It does sound like George of the Jungle. So that's the story of Thomas, or Tammy. They gave him like three
Tammy.
different names.
Yeah, I like Tammy, because it kind of reminded me of just like a really girly guy who's like, oh. Yeah.
The Tammy and the Nuckelavee.
So the Nuckelavee and, isn't the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland as well?
I think around there.
So,
I haven't done that one yet, so I don't know that much.
Well, damn, Tammy.
So that would be scary as fuck. So it's said that the only entity able to control the Nuckelavee is the Mother of the Sea, an ancient spirit in Orcadian mythology who keeps the Nuckelavee confined during the summer months.
Just summer.
Yeah. As her strength wanes with the spread of autumn, the monster can come ashore. The only thing that will drive off the Nuckelavee is fresh water, including rain. So when it's not summer, it's safer if you go outside while it's raining.
Or if you go outside with like a water bottle full of water and then just throw it on.
Yeah, and just keep a water bottle with you.
Yeah.
There's this thing called seaweed burning. It began on Stronsay in 1722. It's an old practice of burning seaweed in order to make kelp. The product, soda ash, was an alkali mainly used to treat acidic soil. People believed that the pungent smoke that was emitted during the process was believed to enrage the Nuckelavee. The creature hated the smell of the burning seaweed, so it would go on a rampage of plague. There were deaths of cattle, destruction of crops. He also killed all the horses on the island of Stronsay with a deadly disease known as mortashine.
Wow, rude. What did they ever do to him?
Maybe he's jealous of how beautiful those horses are compared to his skinless monstrosity. The Nuckelavee...
That's what I call my ex-wife, skinless monstrosity.
So the Nuckelavee has been blamed on droughts, poor harvests, diseases, disasters, all kinds of stuff.
Everything.
And people could use this monster as an explanation for stuff that islanders back then didn't fully understand.
Like rain.
Yeah. No.
Oh, shit's falling from the sky. Must be the Nuckelavee.
No, because the Nuckelavee doesn't like rain, so it can't be the Nuckelavee.
That's right.
So that's the Nuckelavee. That was a Scottish centaur, kinda. Last but not least, I'm going to do the Filipino centaur.
We love Filipino stuff.
Yeah, called the Tikbalang.
Ooh, was that in that music video?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's the half horse, half man.
Oh yeah, he has like the creepy mask on.
Yeah. So, if you don't know what we're talking about, look up mythology, Filipino folklore music video. And they mention the Tikbalang in there, but they also mention the Manananggal.
Manananggal.
Yeah, it has some great stuff in there.
And we talked about the Manananggal like earlier on in one of our earlier episodes.
Yeah.
So you should go back and listen to that.
So there's many different variations of this story of this creature. So keep in mind that I may say something that you haven't heard before, or you disagree with, or maybe I missed something that you've heard. As time has gone on, so many new variations and stories of the Tikbalang has come around, so it muddles the original stories more and more. So just keep in mind there's lots of variations. So the Tikbalang is kind of like a reverse centaur. It's very much like a minotaur, but instead of a bull's head, it's a horse's head.
So minotaur is bull's head and bull's like front body, kind of. Does it have like the hooves for the hands?
Yeah, I will go into more description.
Okay.
So it's a tall, bony creature that looks like a humanoid horse. Even though it's corporeal, many stories say that it's a malevolent spirit that can shapeshift and mimic humans. Their shape changes, but they're generally male. It has disproportionately long limbs to the point where its knees reach above its head when it squats down.
Oh my god.
It has a fluffy dark mane, and the rest of the fur on its body is a lighter color. Some say that the eyes of the Tikbalang glow blue or like embers. It lurks in the mountains and rainforests of the Philippines, especially in caves, trees, and bamboo groves, and you'll often meet a Tikbalang at a crossroads. The Tikbalang is believed to reside in belet or banyan trees. This tree is generally feared and associated with enchanted beings and paranormal activities.
Wasn't there something else that had something to do with this tree?
Yeah, in the music video, I think it was the Bigfoot, the Filipino Bigfoot, likes to hang around the banyan trees up in them and smoke and drink or something.
Yeah.
It's also believed that the belet tree contains portals to other realms. Also, they're believed to be guardians of elemental kingdoms and are seen guarding large trees. A common saying is that if it's raining while it's sunny, then that means a Tikbalang is getting married.
How cute.
How cute. Horses are not native to the Philippines, so where did the idea of this monster come from? The origins are a little muddied, so we don't know exactly, but here's some ideas. So between 1565 to 1898 is known as the Spanish colonial period. The Spanish introduced horses to the Philippines, so it could have started from seeing men on horseback and not understanding what they were seeing. But the Tikbalang story seems to be even older than the Spanish colonization period, so it likely came from something else. 900 years before the Spanish arrival, Chinese merchants went to the Philippines, and while on land, they rode horseback, so it could have been from Chinese merchants. Or Tikbalang may have originated from Hayagriva, an avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, who was first recorded in 2000 BCE. Hinduism had a cultural impact on the Philippines dating back as far as the 9th century.
Really?
So it could have been from a Hindu god. Way back then. In the pre-colonial period, Tikbalang were regarded as malevolent spirits of the forest. In some versions, a Tikbalang is a transformation of an aborted fetus sent to Earth from limbo.
Oh my god.
Yikes.
That's horrible. It's like, alright, here you go. You aborted this, so I'm going to torture you with it.
So in the Philippines, Tikbalangs are known to scare travelers and lead people astray by playing tricks on them, which will keep them from returning to their correct path, no matter how far they go or where they turn.
I hate Tikbalangs.
Yeah, that would be so scary.
Yeah.
You get lost in the forest and you just can't find your way because, dang you, Tikbalang! It's believed that the Tikbalang can turn invisible or even transform into a human, so it can imitate anyone, like a close friend or a relative to you.
God, that's so scary.
Once it appears as a friend of yours, it makes it easy to trick you and lead you astray and keep you trapped in the forest.
Who says? Who says it's easy?
If you saw me in the forest saying, "Hey, I heard you were lost, come follow me."
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna follow you.
And after the Tikbalang has got you right where it wants you, then it will finally reveal itself to you in its true monstrous form.
Oh my god, it's gonna flash me?
Basically. And people often report the smell of tobacco when this happens. It laughs with a strange, high-pitched chuckle.
Like that?
I would say that's pretty close. Oh, like a horse. Try it like a horse. Yeah, kind of like a horse laugh. Seeing this creature causes illness, fever, headache, blindness, or even death. People who have encountered a Tikbalang are known to wander into villages or towns and talk incoherently. They'll talk about how they were pushed, knocked to the ground, and hit repeatedly. All they could do was laugh as they were being tormented by the Tikbalang, and when eventually they stopped resisting, they were left alone.
God.
You want to know how to protect yourself?
Yeah, I do.
A Tikbalang?
I really do.
So when you're walking through nature, be respectful, don't make too much noise, or else you're more likely to be tortured by a Tikbalang.
Well, I have this thing when I hike, I just love being as loud as possible, and I like to go blah, 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 while I'm hiking. So you think that's a problem?
And damage all the plants and animals and trees near you.
I love stepping on plants. It's my favorite pastime.
And stepping on little squirrels.
Yeah, little squirrels, chipmunks, dogs, I don't even care. I'll step on them.
Yeah, so the Tikbalang is going to fucking torture you. I mean, I hope he does, because that's really rude.
It is.
Make sure to ask permission out loud when you want to pass through areas where the Tikbalangs are found.
Hey, Tikbalang, I want to pass through this area. Like that?
And then be like, okay.
Or you could write up like a prenup or something and be like, hey, I'm going to pass through these areas in my lifetime. Sign here if you're okay with it. And then you like have the Tikbalang sign it.
Good luck with that. I don't know if that works very well for anyone, but you could try it.
I'll try it.
Another tip to protect yourself from a Tikbalang is to turn your clothes inside out to help you find your way out of the forest. Sound familiar?
The backwards clothing thing?
Yeah.
And you like walk backwards and stuff?
I don't know about walking backwards, but turning your clothes inside out is...
Oh, I don't remember which creature it was.
It was your last one. Your last episode, right?
I don't fucking remember.
Wow.
I don't remember my own fucking episode.
So here's another thing where to protect yourself, you wear your clothes backwards or inside out.
Yeah.
And supposedly that's supposed to help you find your way out of the forest if you get lost.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because the compass in your clothing, when you turn it inside out, it points the correct way.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the compass in clothing works. The clothing has to be inside out or backwards.
Exactly. It gets the magnetic field a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, it initiates a magnetic field.
Yeah.
So, want to know how you can tame a Tikbalang?
I do. I want it as my pet.
So some stories say that the Tikbalang has a mane of sharp spines or hair, and there are 3 hairs that are especially thick or maybe even golden in color. And if you're able to obtain a hair or a spine, because some websites said there were spines, some said hair, then you can use them as a talisman to keep the Tikbalang as your servant or to have good fortune.
Oh, okay.
But it's very difficult to pluck that spine or hair from the creature. You can try leaping onto its back and tie a specially prepared cord to the Tikbalang. And as you're riding it like a rodeo bull, try to hang on as it tries to buck you off.
Oh my God.
Hopefully you can exhaust him enough to pull out the hair or spines before it bucks you off its back. So
that's so sad.
Good luck.
Can you imagine if you were just walking down the road and someone jumps on your back, tries to pull out your hair?
It's so mean.
And like, hey, let me tame you so that you can be my pet.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people had to do with horses. They tame wild horses.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to walk.
And what people still do for entertainment at the rodeo.
Yep, that's true.
With pop culture, the appearance of a Tikbalang has been changed into a more strong and muscular creature, like more sexified, you could say.
Okay, well, I guess I'll take it, but I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, because it used to be like really creepy and thin and skeletal.
Like its arms are like bending weird ways and stuff.
But now it's like all buff and sexy.
Like a romance novel?
Yeah, like a romance novel got their hand on the Tikbalang.
You.
And that's it. That's what I got for you for your Centaur 69 episode.
69. That was beautiful.
Was it a pretty sexy episode? Did you say so?
I was expecting a little bit more, no, but it gives me some ideas on what to do next time, too.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
In the bed?
Yes. 69.
You gotta grab a rope and, like, ride them.
And then I gotta turn my lingerie backwards.
See, it's kind of sexy.
Yeah.
And you can ride them and they try to buck you off.
Oh, yeah. So hot. Please don't buck me off, baby. Oh.
I will post some photos of these creatures. You want to check it out on our social media, Facebook, Instagram. You can email us for topic suggestions or personal stories, and well, for really anything. Tiffany at weirdaholics.com or Nicole at weirdaholics.com. Also, if you enjoy our episodes, please take a moment to leave us a good review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We would really appreciate that. And if you like to support us and have access to bonus mini episodes and deleted scenes, then head over to patreon.com/weirdaholics. be a member of our donor party.
And you get to hear lots of drunk, weird shit on Patreon. Ugh.
We have fun.
We have fun here.
As we cry.
Do, 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 drink.